As a teacher, I often have to deal with kids in my class who misbehave and generally aren't as well behaved as others. But some kids can be a bad influence while still being a good student. So how can you protect your kid from these kind of friends? Now, when kids are young, you can arrange playdates and pretty much dictate who your kid hangs around with. But once they start elementary school, your kids will be on their own journey of self-discovery and they will start choosing their own friends whether you like them or not. And when they become teenagers, then it becomes much more difficult to disengage them from a bad crowd, and quite often it will make them more defiant and more likely to remain friends. So if we start to teach them when they're young how to advocate for themselves and how to recognise toxic friendship, then hopefully when they become teenagers, they'll avoid hanging out with the wrong crowd and make good choices for themselves. Talking to your kids about what a toxic friendship looks like and what a healthy friendship looks like can help them realise what is happening and when they are confronted with a situation that is making them feel bad. Quite often, children don't even realise that the problem is their friends and not them. Over time, this can eat away at their self-esteem and confidence, but it can also mean that they don't try to get out of their friendship as well. So if their friends treat them with disrespect, like insulting them, such as calling them names or making comments about their appearance or personality, then it's a major red flag. Also, if they don't respect your child's boundaries, then that person is not a good friend to them. Other signs to watch out for are things like them pressuring your kids into doing things that they otherwise wouldn't do, or manipulating them with threats or coercion. Maybe they've tried to exclude your kid or isolate them on purpose. Toxic friends can also be people who are rule breakers and risk takers. If your kid is hanging out with someone who's frequently getting into trouble at school, then it's time to pull the plug on this friendship. But more on this in a bit. Sometimes friends like this can be very manipulative and not show their true colours when they're around adults. In this case, you need to watch out for the signs from your child instead. They may start to behave out of character, saying or doing things that they normally wouldn't. This is a clear sign that they're picking up behaviour of others and mimicking it. Or maybe they seem like they're overly preoccupied with gaining their friends' approval, possibly because they worry about the repercussions if their friend becomes unhappy with them. If your kid acts like this and they're scared of their friends, then this is another huge red flag. All this can be heartbreaking for you as a parent, and it can be damaging to your child in the long term. It can damage their self-esteem and confidence and change how they interact with others. It may also destroy their trust in others, and they may think that being treated badly is just a norm in a friendship, diminishing their own sense of self-worth. And it can get your child into trouble, sometimes serious trouble. But there are ways for you to protect your kid from someone who's a bad influence. First of all, sit down with them and ask them what they see as a good friend. You might be surprised about how much they know. This will also help them to see what kind of things they should expect from others. So talk about things like having mutual respect for each other, whether that's respect for a person's body, appearance, personality, or abilities. This is something that even as adults, we strive for our relationship with others. And teaching our kids to respect others from a young age is something that all parents are trying to do, so that our kids basically turn out to be decent human beings. You could also talk about respect for a person's choices. Knowing that it's okay not to follow the crowd, and to know that choose a different path from themselves can give them confidence to say no when they're uncomfortable in situations. We all know the dangers of peer pressure, and young kids as well as teens face it every day. Giving them the confidence to stand up for themselves is the first step in protecting your kid. Next, ask how they wouldn't like a friend to behave towards them. You can talk about some things I've said before and see if they add to it. This should help them to recognise the signs of toxic friendship and hopefully stop it in the tracks. If they already have a friendship that is worrying you, then make sure not to criticise their friend openly. That could put your kid on the defensive and immediately make them feel like they need to defend their choices to be a friend with this person. It can also mean that they won't come to you in the future if they have problems or fear of being judged. Instead, try pointing out that their friend's bad behaviour towards them or others instead of just saying you don't like them and don't want them to hang out with them anymore. Maybe if you get your child to talk about different scenarios that have made them feel uneasy, then you can role play what to say and do in those situations. If they're unsure about this, then you can try and empathise with them by telling them about a time from your own childhood that made you feel anxious and how you dealt with it or how you wish that you dealt with it. Keeping these lines of communication open is vitally important because you need to be someone that they can trust so that they will come to you in their time of need, knowing that they won't be judged for their bad choices but helped instead. As they get older, that becomes increasingly important. Dealing with a kid's toxic friends can be at times worrying for parents. We don't want to come down too hard, but equally we don't want to just sit back and risk that our child gets hurt by their friendship. Most of the time, coaching our kids through situations is a better option so they can gain confidence from making their own decision, plus advocating for themselves can yield positive lifelong results. Did you have to outright ban your child from hanging out with their friend? Or maybe you're able to nip the friendship in the bud before it started. Whatever steps you take to ensure your child's safety, you should know that we at FamiSafe are here for you to take that journey and make those tough decisions easier by providing you with helpful tools that will not only ensure that your child is protected against all cyber threats, but that you can always know where your daughter or your son is, what they are up to and what they are planning. If you ever need any direct help or assistance, feel free to reach out to us through the comments sections. We are always pleased to hear from all our viewers and customers and consider you to be our extended family. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and most importantly, I hope it was some assistance. Don't forget to subscribe and press the bell so you know that when we bring up our new content. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.